You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
I wanted to follow up on a rant that I had done earlier on the percent of pain patients there might be in a state medical marijuana program, because one of the standard arguments for these kinder, gentler drug warriors is that medical marijuana is a fraud, well, until we put it into a pill. As if pain wasn't a legitimate enough reason to get medical marijuana, when in fact, it's the condition we have the most legitimate research for. It actually is. Go to PubMed sometime and type in cannabinoids space pain and look at all of the articles you'll get back on that. It's just amazing, especially when we're talking about things like intractable neuropathic pain, that nerve pain that analgesics, opioids don't really seem to affect very well. Cannabinoids kick its ass. We got tons of research on pain, and we got tons of people in this country who are suffering from chronic pain. You don't think those Advil and Aleve and Tylenol commercials are on there just for information's sake. No, there's a demand for pain relief, and here we have a safe, non-toxic herbal remedy that would do just fine on it. But let's put that aside for a second. Let's talk about these Project Sam people, these Kevin Sabets of the world, who want to just cast aside pain as if it's no big deal. Check this example. This is from their website. This is from the Project Sam website, and the heading is "Current Medical Marijuana Programs Are a Joke, but No Laughing Matter." Here are some points for you. A 2011 study that examined 1,655 applicants in California who sought a physician's recommendation for medical marijuana found that very few had cancer, HIV/AIDS, glaucoma, or multiple sclerosis. The Colorado Department of Health found that only 2% of medical marijuana users reported cancer, and less than 1% reported HIV/AIDS as their reason for seeking marijuana. The vast majority, 94%, reported severe pain. In Oregon, there are reports that only 10 physicians made half of all recommendations for medical marijuana. Agitation, seizures, cancer, HIV/AIDS, cachexia, and glaucoma were the last 6 conditions cited for giving people medical marijuana. Here we have all 3 examples of demeaning a state medical marijuana program. First, we start with all your medical marijuana belong to California. They can't talk about medical marijuana without ascribing all the worst aspects of California to all the other states. Let me rephrase that. What they consider to be the worst aspects. I consider California to be legalization with a doctor's permission slip. But regardless, you'll hear lines like, well, walking into a pot dock and getting marijuana for a sore elbow, which in California is entirely possible, but in the other 17 medical marijuana states would be difficult to impossible. They always have to bring up California. Then there's that part about the 90% get it for pain, or over 90% get it for pain, and the third one is over less than 5% get it for cancer or AIDS, right? This talking point conveniently leaves out the 16% who get it for spasticity and the 11% who get it for nausea. And did you notice that all adds up to more than 100%? Well, they hope you don't, because then you'll realize that patients can register for more than one condition. Do you think cancer might come with some pain? Perhaps multiple sclerosis is a little painful. Maybe a lot of those people with pain have conditions that even the doubters believe are legitimate uses of medical marijuana. So to debunk this line of reasoning, I've researched the medical marijuana program statistics from now 8 medical marijuana states. Some states, like California and Washington, have no state registry to research. Other states, like Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Delaware, are too new to get any statistics from. So I've collected statistics from Oregon, Montana, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Michigan, and Rhode Island that are either posted online or available through a public records request. Now, as I mentioned, Kevin Sabet doesn't want you to realize that patients can qualify for more than one condition. Let's take Oregon for an example. Oregon has about 55,000 patients, 54,589 patients. Now, of those 54,589, I'll zoom that a little bit so you can see better on the screen there. So 54,589 patients in the state of Oregon. But what he does in coming up with this number, the 95% get it for pain, is he takes the total number for pain patients and divides that by the total number of patients, which gives you that 51 and that 94% are getting it for pain. But what he doesn't want you to know is that if you look at all the conditions and add those up, they come up to about 80,000 conditions, 79,966, of which pain represents 64% of the conditions that people are using medical marijuana to treat. So it's not the 90%. Now, how many could it actually be? How many pain patients could there actually be? Because if there's almost 80,000 conditions and there's almost 55,000 patients, doesn't that tell us there's about 25,000 people that have to have two conditions or more, just mathematically speaking? Now, an interesting way to think about this is to take a look at whether someone is a pain patient. And I've kind of made this graph to visually explain it. We can take a look at all the pain patients, the 51,000 that registered for pain. But if we figure that spasticity, nausea, cancer, seizures, glaucoma, and AIDS patients all didn't have pain, well, that would be impossible, because you'd get a number bigger than 55,000, because the spasticity patients are at least 11,000. So what you end up with is this section here, possible pain-only patients, which would be, at best, at the most it could possibly be, is if everybody that had some other condition didn't have pain, and then just a few of the spasticity and nausea patients had pain, the best you could come up with is about 40,000 that would have pain only. But what is the chances that someone has spasticity, nausea, cancer, glaucoma, seizures, and AIDS all at once? Probably not that great. For that, we take a look at the other possibility, the lower bound in this possibility. The least possible pain-only patients would be if everybody only had one condition and or pain. So by stacking those, the glaucoma, HIV, cancer, seizures, nausea, and spasticity patients, you'd be left with a much smaller number of possible pain-only patients, somewhere around 25,000. That's just the math, people. It can't work any way else. So, putting this back into the spreadsheet, we find that for the state of Oregon, the least possible pain-only patients are about 48% of the patients, and the most possible pain-only patients are about 73%. So really, in actuality, when Kevin Sabet says it's 94% of the patients are getting it for pain, the real number is somewhere between half to three-quarters. At least in the state of Oregon. We can look at other states. In the state of Colorado, where he gets his original statistic from, there's 101,000 pain patients out of 138,000 total patients. 138,000 total conditions, excuse me. So for out of conditions, pain represents 73%. But when we do the same kind of math, stacking up their various conditions, the range we get for possible pain only in Colorado is 66 to 84%, not the 94% Kevin Sabet likes to claim. Similar numbers bear fruit in Montana, where the range is 70% to 87%. In the state of Nevada, where the range is 43% to 73%. In the state of Michigan, where the range is 68% to 82%. In the state of Rhode Island, where the range is 6.4% possibly to 71%. And if we take those 6 states and combine all their statistics for everyone who is registered in those 6 states of Oregon, Colorado, Montana, Nevada, Michigan, and Rhode Island, 68% of the conditions being treated are pain, and the range is 62 to 82%. I'm sorry, 62 to 81% that are getting it for pain only. Now, there are a couple of other states that provide some insight in this. New Mexico only keeps track of a single condition for which people qualify. And I've combined a lot of the conditions, by the way. In New Mexico, PTSD is one of the conditions that people can qualify for. And because of that, it's the largest number in this other category. 42% of the patients in New Mexico are getting medical marijuana for PTSD. Only 35% are getting it for pain. And in the state of Arizona, they keep track of a separate stat called 2 or more conditions. That shows 22% of their patients have 2 or more conditions. So the patients with pain only represent 70%, or 71 if you want to round up, 71% of the conditions that can be of patients that are using it for pain only in the state of Arizona. So that talking point should be thoroughly debunked by now. Patients that have cancer, glaucoma, or HIV/AIDS in Oregon represent 6.7% of all patients and 4.6% of all conditions as well. Now, the breakdown here is all available on RadicalRuss.com. I just posted it today. And the other part that debunks this 90% of the patients are getting it for pain, in the Project Sam website, he'll point out the Oregon statistics and he'll point out the Colorado statistics. And it's, again, I've already pointed out how it's dishonest math to take the number of pain patients and divide it by the total number of patients. But even if we go with Kevin Sabet's dishonest math and do it on the other states the way he does it, you get a number of 82% for Montana, 73% for Nevada, 72% for Rhode Island, 71% for Arizona, 63% for Michigan, and as we mentioned, 35% for New Mexico. So, Kevin Sabet, if you want to use that dishonest math like that, that's fine with me, but just use it for all of the math that you're going to do and point out that these other states, it's less than 3/4 of the patients are getting it for pain only. Oh, Kevin Sabet. I had to focus my anger today somewhere, and I thought that would be the most constructive use of it. I'm coming for you, Kevin. You cannot hide. Hey, folks, that's all the time we got for Hour 1 today. Join us for Toker Talk Radio in Hour 2. I got all sorts of interesting news stories that I held on to for Hour 2 because they just deserved a little more discussion. Coming up on Toker Talk Radio, a hash oil explosion in Forest Grove, Oregon. That's just down the highway from me, folks. You can bet what I have to say about that. Also, the advertising for marijuana sales in Colorado before it's actually legal. We'll talk about that and more in Toker Talk Radio. Thanks for joining us. I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
Take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it,